Praise the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and peace to everyone joining us on this program. Once again, this is the Fountain of Israel Bible Studies program where we teach from the Bible, Old Testament, New Testament. We're truly the Bible Christians of the modern day. At least that's what we strive to be. Now, our lesson is Tread Lightly, and this is part 2. So if you have not seen part 1, I would encourage you to watch part 1. But we're going to pick it up at the next part of this, and we're going to start it over in Esther. We will start this in Esther 3 and pick it up at verse 1. Now, this particular lesson is really dealing with our ambitions. You know, what we are striving for, or maybe the schemes, or maybe anything that we think we want, and that we project and we think we know what the outcome will be, only to realize it was to our own destruction, that we'll have to pay for it. So we have to be careful in the things that we want. We have to be careful when we scheme against other people. We have to be careful when we force particular relationships that does not work, when we try to put a square peg in a round hole. Ultimately, it is just not what you want. You're barking up the wrong tree. You're doing the wrong thing. It's not what you want. So, to sum all that up and all these titles that we could have named this particular lesson, we settled on Tread Lightly, so it can encompass the entire message that we're trying to give to you today. Let's pick this up in Esther 3. Esther 3, and we'll pick it up at verse 1. And we're going to look at someone who should have tread lightly. Esther 3 and 1, when you get there, let the Bible speak.
After these things, King Ahasuerus promoted Haman, the son of the Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes who were with him. Okay, so Haman was promoted. He's a big shot now. He's promoted, but go ahead. And all the king's servants who were within the king's gates bowed and paid homage to Haman. Okay. I'm sorry. For so the king had commanded concerning him. This is what the king wanted. Haman is promoted, and he's basically saying, you guys show this guy respect. He's promoted. Go ahead. But Mordecai would not bow or pay homage. Okay, so that's a problem, Mordecai. But Mordecai, which is the uncle of Esther, because we're picking up in chapter 3, so just let me know, just to let you know, just to catch you guys up. Mordecai is the uncle of Esther. Esther just came into the good graces and basically married the king at the time. Okay? But Haman doesn't like her uncle Mordecai. Now, this is a guy who followed God, but Haman does not like this guy, and you just read why. But Mordecai would not bow or pay homage to him. Go ahead, verse 3, brother. The king's servants who were within the king's gate said to Mordecai, why do you transgress the kings? Okay, so basically, how come you're not bowing to the guy? The king wants us to do this, pay this guy homage. Why do you transgress the king's command? Go ahead. Now it happened when they spoke to him daily, and he would not listen to them. He was not trying to hear it. Go ahead. That they told it to Haman to see whether Mordecai's words would stand. Let's see if Mordecai had the courage of his convictions. Okay, because they went to tell Haman at this time. They said, "Look, Haman, he's not going to pay you homage. I'm just letting you know, he's not going to pay you homage." Go ahead. For Mordecai had told them that he was a Jew. He was a Jew. Go ahead. When Haman saw that Mordecai did not bow or pay him homage, go ahead. Haman was filled with wrath. That really upset him. Everybody else was paying him homage, paying him respect, that he's the new big shot in town and everything. And Mordecai was, I'm not bowing to this dude. I'm not listening to this guy. Go ahead. But he disdained to lay hands on Mordecai alone. For they had told him of the people of Mordecai. Go ahead. Instead, Haman sought to destroy all Jews who were throughout the whole kingdom of the Ahasuerus, the people of Mordecai. Okay, so Haman, not only did Mordecai not pay him homage, it made him so upset that he said, you know what? I'll kill him, and I'm going to kill all the Jews too. I'm gonna, you know what? If he doesn't want, he's taking it out on all the Jews. But if they don't want to pay me homage, you know what? Fine, I'll wipe them out.
Let me figure out how I'm going to wipe all these people out. Drop down to verse 8, brother. Verse 8.
And then Haman said to King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of your kingdom.
Okay.
Their laws are different from all other people's.
So we know who these are. These are the Jews. Go ahead.
And they do not keep the king's laws.
That's right. Now we know this. See, we have to understand. We have to keep the law, statutes, and commandment of God, of our Lord, of Yah. We have to do that. And so they kept that anyway. They lived in the king's province. And they were just saying, hey, look, you know, their laws are a little different from us. And they don't keep your laws. Go ahead. Therefore,
it is not fitting for the king to let them remain.
Don't let them stay here. Tell it to the king. It's not a good idea to let these guys stay here. Verse 9.
If it pleases the king, let a decree be written that they be destroyed. And I will pay 10,000 talents of silver into the hands of those who do the work, to bring it into the king's treasuries.
Okay, so you're going to get a reward. Now there's a bounty on the head of all the Jews. Okay, and we have to remember, Mordecai was a Jew, and his niece Esther was a Jew as well. Verse 13, brother.
So the king took his signet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. Yeah. 10. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You were right. I was wrong. Go ahead. Verse 10. Go ahead.
So the king took his signet ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, the son of the Hammedatha, and the Agagite, I'm sorry, the enemy of the Jews. And the king said to Haman, the money and the people are given to you to do them when it seems good to you.
So the king pretty much blessed it. His signet ring, anytime they dipped their ring in the wax and then they put it on a decree, that was it. It was done. It was law. At that time, it was good to go. So basically, the king said, you know what? There's the money. You got the people, the money, whatever you need to do, go do what you think needs to be done about this. Now drop down to verse 13.
And the letters were sent by couriers into all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to annihilate all the Jews.
They're going to want to wipe them out. And this is what Haman wanted. He wanted all the Jews to be wiped out, really, because he really hated Mordecai. Go ahead.
Both young and old, little children and women. And one day, on the 13th day of the 12th month, which is in the month of Adar, and to the plunder their possessions.
Okay, so he was really, I just wanted to point out how this went down, how it happened. Okay, Haman did not like Mordecai. And he wanted him to pay, and he wanted all his people to pay. Okay, now poor Esther, she's kind of hearing, we're going to skip down to, we're going to go to Esther chapter 5, so we're going to skip a few chapters, but just to kind of let you know in between, Esther's kind of getting word of this, and Mordecai is saying, hey, you know, this guy's after us, you know, and not only is he after me, he wants to kill all of us. So Esther has to come up with a plan, and she say, you know what, let me invite Haman, let me deal with him. Let me invite him. I want to throw a banquet and everything. Let me invite my husband, the king. Let me invite Haman, and we're going to work this thing out real quick. We're going to figure something out right here because there's a major plot. Haman would even lie. He'd do anything to get all the Jews killed, even lie and plot and whatever he has to do. Okay, so let's go. Let's pick it up at Esther 5 and pick it up at verse 1. Esther 5 verse 1, and this is where. By this time, Esther knows about the plot to kill all the Jews. But this is the plan she comes up with to kind of deal with this. Esther 5 and verse 1. And when you get there, brother, go ahead.
Now it happened on the third day that Esther put on her royal robes and stood in the inner court of the king's palace.
Okay.
Across the king's house, while the king sat on his royal throne in the royal house, facing the entrance of the house.
Okay, go ahead.
So it was when the king saw Queen Esther standing in the court that she found favor in his sight.
That means she's beautiful. Go ahead.
And the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand.
Okay.
Then Esther went near and touched the top of the scepter.
Okay, she just touched it. Go ahead.
And the king said to her, What do you wish, Queen Esther?
Okay.
What is your request? It shall be given to you up to half of the kingdom.
So that's how much he loved her. So that's how much influence she had with her husband. Okay, he loved her so much he said, you know, what is it you want, sweetheart? What do you want? Whatever you want, all the way up into half my kingdom, if that's what you want. Whatever you want, just what's your request? Verse 4.
So Esther answered, If it pleases the king, let the king and Haman come today to the banquet that I have prepared for him.
Okay, so she wanted to prepare a banquet for them. Okay, verse 5.
Then the king said, Bring Haman quickly, that he may do as Esther has said. So the king and Haman went to the banquet that Esther had prepared.
Okay, go ahead. 6.
At the banquet of wine, the king said to Esther, "What is your petition?"
Okay, what do you want, sweetie? Go ahead.
"It shall be granted to you." "What is your request?" "Up to half the kingdom, it shall be done."
Yeah, whatever you want. Even if it's half the kingdom, that'll be done. Whatever you want. What is it? Go ahead.
Then Esther answered and said, "My petition and request is, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it pleases the king to grant my petition and fulfill my request, then let the king and Haman come to the banquet which I also prepare for them. And tomorrow I will do so as the king has said."
Now don't let that confuse you. This banquet, they are at a banquet, and she's talking about another banquet. This was just over a couple of days. They did it big, okay? It was gonna, if you throwing it today, it's like a party for the whole weekend, so to speak. Okay, I'm just using that as an example. I'm not saying this is Saturday and Sunday. I'm just saying this is over more than one day. It's like 2 days, maybe 3 days. So we're just saying, okay, we come tonight. They're having food, they're drinking, they're having a good time. And he said, okay, well, what's your request? What do you want to do? Well, king, why don't you and Haman come tomorrow, and I'll tell you what I want tomorrow. Okay, so they're already partying and having a good time now because the banquet was prepared for them. Okay, they're having a good time, and she invited them for the next night. Okay, they're doing it, they do it big. This is a kingdom. Okay, they're doing it big. They're going to party tomorrow as well. Okay, that was 6. At the banquet of wine, the king said to Esther, "What is your petition? It shall be granted you. What is your request? Up to half the kingdom, it shall be done." And then Esther answered and said, "My petition and request is this. If I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it pleases the king to grant my petition and fulfill my request, then let the king and Haman come to the banquet that I will prepare for them, and tomorrow I'll do as the king has said." Let's go to verse 9. Okay? Let's go to verse 9. Let's see if a little bubble gets burst right here. Let's go to verse 9. Go ahead. Okay.
Excuse me.
No problem. Go ahead. Verse 9. So Haman.
So Haman went out of the day, joyful and with a glad heart.
Okay, now he was happy because he thought, hey man, I'm about to get recognized. I'm about to get some more status. The queen is going to give me my props, so to speak. You know, all is great. We're going to do this. We're going to get this done. But go ahead now. He said now, so Haman went out that day, joyful and with a glad heart. And then what?
But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate.
Okay, so he saw his guy he hated, he despised him, he loathed Mordecai. Go ahead.
And that he did not stand or tremble before him.
Okay, so Mordecai wasn't scared of him. He's like, he really hates this guy because he was not respecting me. Go ahead.
He was filled with indignation against Mordecai.
Okay, go ahead.
Nevertheless, Haman restrained himself and went home.
Yeah, he's like, well, if I was just, it's okay. All right, no problem. I'll just go home. So he just went home. He held it back. All that anger and that rage inside, he swallowed it down. He went home. Go ahead.
And he sent and called for his friends and his wife Zeresh.
Zeresh. Okay, go ahead.
And then Haman told them of his great riches, the multitude of his children, everything in which the king had promoted him, and how he had advanced him above the officials and servants of the king.
Yeah, so it was the king's right-hand man. He became the king's right-hand man. This is the guy. And he was just saying, look, he was telling his friends and his wife, hey, I'm the big shot now. I'm the man. I'm the king's right hand. I'm right here. You know, I got this. Everything is great. Verse 12.
Moreover, Haman said, besides Queen Esther invited no one but me to come in with the king to the banquet that she prepared.
Okay.
And tomorrow I am invited by her, along with the king.
Okay.
Yet all the avails me nothing.
Yet all this avails me nothing.
So long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate.
He said, see, you know what? So he was upset. He said, moreover, Haman said, besides, Queen Esther invited no one but me to come in with the king to the banquet that she prepared. And tomorrow I am again invited by her along with the king. So he's just saying, look, I was there today. We're having a good time. Everything's good, great, and all that. And then I'm the one invited. Okay, it's about me. His ego is being fed right here. He said, but one problem. Yet all this avails me nothing. Now all this doesn't mean anything so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate. As long as I got to deal with this guy, as long as I have to look at this Mordecai guy, this guy vexes me. This guy really upsets me. This is what he's talking about. 14.
Then his wife Zeresh and all his friends said to him, let a gallows be made, 50 cubits high, and in the morning suggest the king that Mordecai be hanged on it. Then go merrily with the king to the banquet.
Okay, so this is the plot, this is the plan. So the plot thickens, everyone. And so they say, you know what? Have a gallows. You know, have that. That's when they had the platform made, and they would hang people, and the bottom drops out, and boom, you're hanged. So he said, you know, let the gallows be made 50 cubits high, and in the morning request to the king that Mordecai be hanged. Then go merrily with the king to the banquet. So they said, you know what? Let's just kill him before the party starts. Let's just kill him, and we'll really have something to celebrate. And go ahead.
And the thing pleased Haman.
He said, that sounds like a good idea. Go ahead.
So he had the gallows made.
He had already ordered the gallows to be made. Okay? So he hated this guy, plotted against this guy, and wanted to kill up all the Jews, really because he hated one guy. Okay? So he hated this one guy, but he wanted to kill up all the other Jews for it. So he made the gallows. Okay? He made the gallows. So he basically digging a grave, so to speak. Let's skip over to Esther 7. And let's look at the conclusion of the whole matter. Okay, we jumped around a lot, but you get the idea of it. In fact, I encourage you to read all of Esther. Okay, it's not that many chapters, and you can finish it in one sitting actually. So Esther 7, let's pick it up at verse 1. Esther 7. Remember, Mordecai is a Jew, and so is Esther. Esther 7 and verse 1. When you get there, brother, let the Bible speak.
So the king and Haman went to dine with Queen Esther. And on the second day at the banquet of the wine, the king again said to Esther, what is your petition, Queen Esther?
Go ahead.
It shall be granted you. And what is your request? Up to half the kingdom, it shall be done.
Yeah, so he loved her so much. He thought that much of her, that much. He was like, okay, now, you know, what is it that you want? You know, my queen, what do you want? Let me know. Let your request be known. Is it half the kingdom? Because I'll give you that too. You know, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, just let me know. All right? So, verse 3.
Then Queen Esther answered and said, if I have found favor in your sight, O king, and if it pleases the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request.
Okay, so she's basically going to make a request for her people. You know, this is the main thing I really, really want, O king. And then, of course, you know, and if I have found favor in your sight, and everything, just showing respect. But he said, you know, let my life be given me at my petition. So let me keep my life and my people at my request. Okay, so can I stay alive and my people? You know, basically, go ahead.
For we have been sold, my people and I, to be destroyed and to be killed and to be annihilated. We have been sold as male and female slaves. I would have held my tongue, although the enemy could never compensate for the king's loss. Okay, yeah, I wouldn't have said anything, but if push comes to shove, basically I got to be killed too. And this is his wife. Okay, this is the queen, so he wasn't having that. He was not having that. Verse 5. So King Ahasuerus answered and said to the Queen Esther. Okay, now go ahead. Now the king said this to the Queen Esther. Now remember, she said, I would have held my tongue, although the enemy, the person who's causing all this, could never compensate the king's law. He could never make up for what happened if this goes through. Go ahead, verse 5 again. Go ahead. So King Ahasuerus, what? Answered and said to the Queen Esther, who is he? And where is he? Who would dare presume in his heart to do such a thing? Yeah. Wait a minute. Who's going to think in their heart to kill you, kill all the way? Hold on. Who is this person? Go ahead. And Esther said, the adversary and the enemy is wicked Haman. I bet Haman spit out his drink that time. I bet he... Wait, what? Well, whoa, hold on. What'd you say? And what did he say? She said the adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. Go ahead. So Haman was terrified before the king and queen. Then the king arose in his wrath from the banquet of wine and went to the palace garden. But Haman stood before Queen Esther, pleading for his life. So hold on. Now this is big bad Haman. He had the gallows built and everything. Okay? And when she said that, he was terrified before both of them because he thought, hey, this was supposed to be a grand celebration. Hey, this is, you know, hey, last night we were drinking and partying and everything, and I'm like the king's right-hand man, and
what's going on? I mean, this is, you know, the DJ stopped playing the music. You know, people stopped drinking. It was just something was going on here. Something went wrong. My point is, something went awry. And so Haman was terrified before the king and the queen. Verse 7. Then the king arose in his wrath. What?
Okay.
That's okay. Then the king arose in his wrath from the banquet of wine, because they had a lot of drinking going on there. From the banquet of wine, and went into the palace garden. Go ahead.
Palace garden. But Haman stood before the queen Esther, pleading for his life, for he saw that the evil was determined against him by the king.
Okay, yeah, bad news coming. Go ahead.
And when the king returned from the palace garden to the palace of the banquet of wine, Haman had fallen across the couch where Esther was.
Okay.
Then the king said, "Will he also assault the queen while I am in the house?"
Yeah, so basically he just bowed before the queen at the time. He bowed before the lady at her feet at the side of the couch and everything. He was like, hey, you know, please don't do this. Don't get me killed. Don't, you know, talk to your husband, that kind of thing. He's pleading for his life. Don't kill me. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. And then the king walked in on that and said, hey, whoa, wait a minute. I mean, the king was there the whole time, but when he did that, it was disrespectful to the king too. And so he's like, well, you know, so what are you going to do? You're going to assault the queen while I'm in the house? I'm standing right here. You know, I'm standing right here. You're going to do this? Go ahead.
As the word left the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. Now, Harbonah, one of the eunuchs, said to the king.
Eunuchs, okay.
Eunuchs, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Said to the king, look, the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman made for Mordecai,
okay,
who spoke good of the king's behalf, is standing at the house of Haman.
Okay, go ahead.
Then the king said, hang him on it.
Hang him on it. The same gallows that he made for Mordecai, the king said, you know what? Hang him on it. These are the same gallows that he plotted and he planned and he schemed to get rid of his hated enemy, Mordecai. Okay? Mordecai didn't, you know, like the guy. He didn't particularly like the guy, but he didn't necessarily disrespect him, you know. And that offended Haman. And so Haman plotted to get him killed, and a nation of people killed too. Made it by a decree. Okay? So this is what we have to understand. So then the king said, hang him on it, verse 10.
So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then the king's wrath subsided.
That's the only way he was satisfied. Because the king felt manipulated. And it's like, wait a minute, okay, you're going to kill my queen, you're going to disrespect me, get my queen killed, because you know she's a Jew. He's going to kill Mordecai on it, who's innocent, and then you would get me to sign off on killing all their people. Yeah, the king wasn't happy about that. But he dealt with it, said hang him on it, and so they hanged Haman on the gallows that he prepared for Mordecai. Then the king's wrath subsided. He said, okay, you know what? Cool, he's dead, I feel better now. I'm good. Okay, I'm good. That's what we have to understand. We got to watch out for the schemes. We got to watch out for letting our hate take over. Okay, how much time we have on there? We got to watch out for that. Okay. All right, good. We have to watch out for those type of things. So we're going to look at something else, more schemes, more plotting. Because remember, this lesson is about treading lightly. You got to watch your step. Watch your step. The people you're dealing with, the people you're plotting against. Today we call them haters and stuff like that. You know, you might have haters, but don't become a hater. Okay? You plot against someone. You dig a grave against someone. You might as well dig two, because it might be your grave that you're digging. Be careful. Okay? Let's look at Daniel 6. We want to look at another guy who want to plot and plan. Okay? We're going to look at another guy, Daniel 6. I'm going to pick it up at verse 1. And we're going to look at King Darius real quick. So Daniel 6, verse 1. And when you get there, let the Bible speak. Okay?
It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 princes.
Okay?
Which should be over the whole kingdom.
Okay, so he's setting up his kingdom. He's setting up some officials. The princes and stuff, just to, help him rule and manage and things like that. Verse 2.
And over these presidents,
these three presidents,
of whom Daniel was first,
okay,
the princess might give accounts unto them.
Okay, so that the princess might give accounts unto them,
and the king should have no damage.
Okay, so Daniel basically, he had 120 princesses, okay, that's going to reside over the whole kingdom, and over these, 3 presidents. So over the princes, there will be 3 presidents, of whom Daniel was the first. So he was the first president. He was in this kingdom. He was the first president in this kingdom. So he really ran the show. He ran the show. Not everybody was happy about it, but he ran the show, that the princes might give accounts unto them. And so the king didn't have to worry about, the day-to-day stuff. All the day-to-day stuff. Let Daniel handle that. You guys are my princes over there. You handle it, kind of thing. So it's like having assistant managers and vice presidents and things like that. Verse 3.
Then this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and princes, because of all the excellent spirit was in him. And the king thought to set him over the whole realm.
Yeah, so he was going to make Daniel the main guy. He was going to make Daniel the main guy because he just had the right spirit in him. He had an excellent spirit in him. And that's really just the hand of God was on him. So verse 4, go ahead.
Then the presidents and princes sought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom.
See, they were trying to find a reason to get this guy kicked out of position. They sought to find, so again, plotting, planning, scheming. Watch out for that. Then the presidents and princes they were looking for a way to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom. Go ahead.
But they could find none occasion nor fault.
Okay, they couldn't find anything he did wrong. Go ahead.
For as much as he was faithful, neither was there any error or fault found in him.
Daniel was a good man, and they could not find an issue with this guy. But they had to plot and plan and scheme. Verse 5.
Then said these men, we should not find any occasion against this Daniel, except we find it against him concerning the law of his God.
That's the only way. We got to make this guy violate his God. That's how we can get him. Let's make this guy violate his God. Go ahead.
Then these presidents and princes assembled together to the king, and said thus unto him, King Darius, live forever.
Okay.
All the presidents of the kingdom and the governors and the princes and the counselors and the captains have consulted together to establish a royal statute, to make a firm decree that whosoever shall ask a petition of any god or man for 30 days, save of thee, O king, he shall be cast into the den of lions.
Okay, so this is their plot and their plan. Okay, all of them assembled together, and they knew that this would probably, this could tip Daniel over the edge, but they were counting on him breaking it anyway, because they knew he was totally devoted to his God. So they wanted to stroke the king's ego. So they go to King Darius and they go, okay, listen, for 30 days a man cannot pray to any other god, to any man, or any, except you, for 30 days. And if they do that, because they have to show their allegiance to you, okay, they have to worship you, O king, kind of thing. Okay, so they have to show their allegiance to you, and if they break that in the next 30 days, then they will be cast into the den of lions. Okay, so let's see. Now, verse 8, let's see how the king felt about that.
Now, O king, establish a decree and sign the writing, and be not changed, according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which altereth not.
Okay, which doesn't change. Verse 9.
Wherefore King Darius signed the writing and the decree.
Okay, he signed it because it stroked his ego. But go ahead, verse 10.
Now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house and his windows, and being open in his chamber towards Jerusalem.
Okay.
He kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day, and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as he did aforetime.
See, he's been doing that. Now that's a lesson in itself. This is, really learning something on the way to learning something. Okay? No matter what, you have to follow your God, brothers and sisters. It's your God. Now, a royal decree went out and said that you couldn't do that. You couldn't worship your God, or else you would be breaking this law. And now, what was said of the apostles in Acts? It said we must obey God rather than man. Same thing that Daniel's doing here. And he said after he saw it. Now, when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, let's see what he did next. He went into his house, and his windows being open in his chamber towards Jerusalem, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as he did aforetime. He kept doing what he'd been doing the whole time. He did not stop. He didn't let fear over it. He didn't let that. He said, I'm going to serve God. Same thing. Same thing. His three friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, same thing. And they gave the other king, Nebuchadnezzar, they gave him respect and said, hey, look, oh king, live forever, but we can't bow down to that statue. We're not going to serve idol gods or whatever, So they didn't let that, obviously the story, they got thrown in there and they were saved and things like that. You know that. But that's the thing. That's just learning something on the way to learning something. Daniel did not stop worshiping his God no matter what. Okay? And he gave thanks before his God as he did aforetime, verse 11.
Then these men assembled and found Daniel praying and making supplication before his God.
Go ahead. This is what they were looking for. This is what they wanted. Go ahead.
Then they came near and spake before the king concerning the king's decree. Hast thou not signed a decree that every man that shall ask a petition of any god or man within 30 days, save of thee, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions?
Yeah, so they pretty much threw it back in the king's face. They're like, hey, king, didn't you sign a decree, that said every man should not ask petition, basically pray to any god or any man for 30 days? Didn't you sign this? And if they did do that, didn't we agree that they're going to be thrown in the lion's den? Okay, go ahead.
The king answered and said, the thing is true according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which altereth not.
Okay, verse 13.
Then answered they and said before the king that Daniel, which is of the children of the captivity of Judah, regardeth not thee, O king, nor the decree that thou hast signed, but maketh his petition 3 times a day.
So they basically said, king, he's disrespecting you. He's not honoring you right now. You said, we know what this decree is. He got it. He saw it. He's still praying 3 times a day to his God. He's totally disregarding the decree that you signed. So they're just really trying to stroke the fires right there. They're really trying to get the king all riled up. Okay? 3 times a day. He's still praying to God 3 times a day. Verse 14.
Then the king, when he heard these words, was sore displeased with himself, and set his heart on Daniel to deliver him. And he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him.
Okay, so he was like, I gotta kill Daniel. I gotta feed him to the lions. I have to. This is the decree that I signed, and it changeth not. This decree that I signed. Verse 15.
Then these men assembled unto the king and said unto the king, Know, O king, that the law of the Medes and Persians is, that no decree nor statute which the king established may be changed.
Yeah. It's interesting. The king signed it into law, but he can't change it, which I just found interesting there. But they wanted to make sure to say, okay, now, king, you can't change your mind. Okay, you got to kill this guy. You can't change your mind on that. Okay, you got to kill this guy, so that no decree nor statute which the king established may be changed. 16.
Then the king commanded, and they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. Now the king spake and said unto Daniel, Thy God whom thou servest continually, he will deliver thee.
See, Darius did have a special place in his heart for Daniel. Okay, he was pressured, okay, into fulfilling the decree on that. Okay, now he thought, Daniel would, maybe he'll cool out on praying to his God for 30 days or not. But, he still had a soft spot in there. Well, how do you know that, Robert? Well, because he said he was going to make him king over, the ruler over all the realm. He considered that. He's like, man, this guy, I like this Daniel guy. I might have set him up and let him run everything, and I can just kick back, be king, and I'm good. But the people under him, under Daniel, he had other plans. They wanted Daniel killed, okay, because the king found favor in Daniel. Okay, so he said, now the king said, the king demanded that they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. Now the king spake and said unto Daniel, he said, look, Daniel, the God whom you serve all the time, continually, who you serve all the time, he'll deliver you. Let him deliver you. He had to do that stiff upper lip, that tough love type thing. Let him deliver you. Go ahead, 17.
And a stone was brought and laid upon the mouth of the den. And the king sealed it with his own signet.
That makes it official. Anytime the king signs with his signet ring, it's official now. Go ahead.
And with the signet of his lords, that the purpose might not be changed concerning Daniel.
Okay, so now that's it. So the king signed it with his signet ring, and then the other lords, they did it too, and it was sealed. Boom, 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 boom. That's it. It was written. This is the fate of Daniel. Okay, 18.
Then the king went into his palace and passed the night fasting.
Didn't eat a thing. Go ahead.
Neither were instruments of music brought before him. And his sleep went from him.
Okay, so no music. This is the king. Okay, so Darius is like, okay, he just felt bad because he actually loved Daniel. He had a special place in his heart for Daniel. Okay, so there was no music playing that night, and to soothe him. He couldn't even sleep. Okay, his sleep left from him because he knew in his mind he was imagining lions ripping Daniel apart by this time. He's like, man, agonizing. I gotta kill Daniel. He was a good servant to me. Boy, and so obviously he could not sleep. His sleep went from him. 19.
Then the king arose very early in the morning and went in haste unto the den of lions.
In a hurry. He went there in a hurry. He just wanted to see what happened. Okay, 20.
And when he came to the den, he cried with a lamentable voice unto Daniel.
So he cried with a lamentable voice unto Daniel. Now he had, you know how you have that choked up voice when you're talking and you're kind of choked up, kind of crying a little bit. It was sad. Okay, he's like, Daniel, are you okay? Or he had a very lamentable voice. Okay, go ahead. A voice unto Daniel, and did what?
And the king spake and said to Daniel, O Daniel, servant of the living God, is thy God whom thou servest continuing able to deliver thee from the lions?
He basically, in our vernacular, he said, are you all right? Did God save you? Are you okay? Go ahead.
Then said Daniel unto the king, O king, live forever.
That's just showing respect. O king, live forever. 22.
My God has sent his angel and has shut the lion's mouth, that they have not hurt me.
Okay, so basically Daniel was in there all night. The lions were definitely hungry. Okay, they were hungry. They did want something to eat. But an angel was there, as Daniel said, an angel was there, and he shut the mouth of the lions. The angel was basically, this is not what you want, brother. You're not going to eat Daniel tonight. So that's it for that. That they that has shut the lion's mouth, that they have not hurt me. Go ahead.
For as much as before him innocency was found in me, and also before thee, O king, have I done no hurt.
Okay, he said, King, the Lord found some favor in me. He found some innocency, and and he found that, and I haven't done you wrong, King. I have not done you. The Lord protected me with one of his angels, and I've done nothing wrong to you, O king. Okay, 23.
Then was the king exceedingly glad for him, and commanded they should take Daniel up out of the den.
Okay, so the king said, man, get him out of there. Come on, get him out. Open it up, get Daniel out of there. Come on, go ahead.
So Daniel was taken up out the den, and no manner of hurt was found upon him, because he believed in his God.
24.
And the king commanded that they brought those men which had accused Daniel.
Now he brought, he commanded to bring who? So read that again.
And the king commanded, and they brought those men which had accused Daniel.
Okay, so his haters. Okay, so they brought his haters and did what?
And they cast them into the den of lions.
They cast them into the den of lions. Is that it?
Them, their children, and their wives, and the lions had the mastery of them.
So the lions had the mastery of them. So wait. You plotted against Daniel. You plotted against him to make him go against his God. He didn't. The king acquiesced to your demands of, you got to feed this guy to the lions. So he did that. The Lord saved him from the mouths of the lions by way of his angel. Okay, you plotted against him. So everything went through the way you wanted. The result wasn't what you wanted. Then you end up getting yourself killed. That's not bad enough. That you got yourself thrown in the lions. Them and your children. You got your kids thrown in the lions with you because you plotted against some guy you don't like. And their wives in the den of lions. Now, if they were hungry when they went in there and staring at Daniel all night, wanted to eat him but couldn't, how hungry do you think they are the next day? You plotting against this man, got yourself chewed to bits, your children chewed to bits, and your wives. And they could have been at home playing, doing their own thing, and all the guards come in there, snatch them up, and the wife is probably like, whoa, what's going on? What's happening? Come with us, and you're in the lion's den. You are in the line. She probably would ask for a divorce right then and there. It's like, what you do? Well, I'm not with him. I divorced this guy. But no, you get everybody cut up and chewed up. And the lions had mastery over them. That means they had their way with them. Eating. Go ahead.
And break all their bones in pieces. Or ever they came at the bottom of the den.
Oh yeah. Break all their bones in pieces, or ever they came at the bottom. It was bad. It was bad. They were ripped to shreds and consumed. All because their men, their wicked princes of the husband, didn't tread lightly. They didn't like one guy, plotted against them, and it didn't quite work out the way they wanted to work out. 25, brother.
Then King Darius wrote unto all people, nations and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied unto you.
Okay, all right, go ahead, 26.
I make a decree that in every dominion of my kingdom, men tremble and fear before the God of Daniel, for he is the living God, and steadfast forever. And his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed, and his dominion shall be even unto thee, unto the end.
Even unto the end, okay?
He delivereth and rescueth, and he worketh signs of wonders in heaven and earth, who hath delivered Daniel from the power of the lions.
Okay, so the king actually said something very much true. He said something very much true about this Lord of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Thank you. And he said, I make a decree. Okay, so he's making another decree. I make a decree that in every dominion of my kingdom, everywhere in my kingdom, men tremble and fear before the God of Daniel. Okay, so he wanted to get very specific. Okay, for he's the living God. That means the living. On a side note, got to understand the living God. That is a very, very high compliment because other gods are dead. Okay, this is the living God. The God we serve is alive right now. The Godhead we serve, both of them, the Son and the Father, they are alive right now. Okay, he is the living God and steadfast forever. And his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed, and his dominion shall be even unto the end. He delivered and rescued, and he worketh signs and wonders in the heaven and in the earth, who has delivered Daniel from the power of the lions. 28, brother.
So Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius, and in the reign of Cyrus and the Persian.
Okay, and in the reign of Cyrus the Persian. Okay, so that gets you cut off right there. Plotting and planning and just you're betting on the wrong horse. That's really what's going. You're just betting on the wrong horse. Don't plot against someone. Don't scheme, plot, lie. Don't hook up with the wrong person, as we saw in the story of Samson. It's very important, brothers and sisters. But we're going to look at another example. 1 Kings 18. 1 Kings 18.
And it came to pass, when Ahab saw Elijah, and Ahab said unto him, Art thou he that troubleth Israel?
Okay, go ahead.
And he answered, I have not troubled Israel.
Okay.
But thou and thy father's house, in that ye have forsaken the commandments of the Lord, and thou hast followed Balaam.
Okay, so Elijah said, "Look, I'm not causing trouble for Israel or whatever. You know, it's you because you have forsaken the commandments of the Lord and you follow Balaam. Just you following a false god." Okay, so we're over here at 1 Kings 18, and we just read 17 and 18. So 1 Kings 18, 17, we're going to pick it up at verse 19. Go ahead, brother.
Now therefore send and gather me all Israel unto Mount Carmel, and the prophets of Baal 450,
okay,
and the prophets of the groves 400, which eat at Jezebel's table.
Okay, so bring to me these prophets, okay, these prophets that that you already have assembled to yourselves, and all these other prophets that eat at Jezebel's table. Go ahead, verse 20.
So Ahab sent up to the children of Israel and gathered the prophets together unto the Mount Carmel.
Okay, so now they're going to go ahead and do something. We're going to establish who's the real God. So you need to understand which horse you're betting on here. Okay, we got to understand this. 21.
And Elijah came unto the people and said, How long halt ye between two opinions?
Okay, so Elijah came unto all the people and said, How long halt ye between two? So how are you going to stand between two opinions? You have this ecumenical movement out there, and this God is that God. I mean, this God's okay, that God's okay. It's okay for you. What's okay for me? That type of thing. And then we all end up at the same place or whatever. Elijah obviously didn't feel that way. We don't always end up at the same place. You serve any God you want, and we all end up at the same place. It doesn't work like that. Okay? So he's going to say, okay, now, how long are you guys going to straddle the fence, basically? That's really what he's asking. How long are you going to straddle the fence? Go ahead. If what?
if the Lord be God, follow him. But if Baal, then follow him. And the people answered him not a word.
Okay, so they didn't say anything. He said, okay, if God is God, if he's the real deal, follow him. If Baal, if he's the real deal, follow him. Okay, but they didn't say anything. Go ahead, 22.
Then said Elijah unto the people, I, even I, only remain a prophet of the Lord.
Okay.
But Baal's prophets are 450 men.
Okay, he said, I'm the only one here for the true and living God. It's just me. But Baal, you got 450. All right, go ahead.
Let them therefore give us 2 bullocks, and let them choose 1 bullock for themselves, and cut it in pieces, and lay it on wood, and put no fire under. And I will dress the other bullock, and lay it on wood, and put no fire under. And call ye on the name of your gods, and I will call on the name of the Lord, and the God that answereth by fire. Let him be God. And all the people answered and said, it is well spoken.
Okay, so here's the deal. Here is the deal. This is what we're going to do. Okay? We're going to get 2 bullocks, and we're going to choose. We're going to let you choose 1 bullock. You choose 1, I'll choose 1. We're going to cut it in pieces. We're going to lay it on the wood, and we're not going to set it on fire. We're not going to set it on fire. We're just going to lay it there. We're not going to set it on fire. And I will dress the other bullock and lay it on the wood, and I'll put no fire on it. So you're going to put it on there. Don't light it. I'll do mine. I won't light it. And Elijah said unto the prophets of Baal, he said, okay, now, choose you 1 bullock for yourself, and dress it first. And for you, and there's a lot of you guys, for you or me, there's a lot of you guys, and call on the name of your God, but put no fire on it. So just call on the name of your God and see if your God will light this pile of meat, this sacrifice on fire. Let's test it, okay? Let's do that, okay? He said, and the God that answers by fire, let him be God. That's the real God, the one who actually set it on fire. Yours or mine, that will be the real God. And all the people answered and said, that's a good idea. It is well spoken. Okay, you said well. 25.
And Elijah said unto the prophets of Baal, choose you 1 bullock for yourselves, and dress it first.
Okay.
For you are many. And call on the name of your gods, but put no fire under.
Don't light it on fire. 26.
And they took the bullock which was given to them, and they dressed it, and called on the name of Baal from morning even until noon.
Look how long they did it. From morning even until noon. Go ahead.
Saying, O Baal, hear us. But there was no voice, nor any that answered. And they leaped upon the altar which was made.
Okay, so they're going crazy. They're getting it going. They're getting it going. It's almost like the charismatic movement today. They're getting it going. They're raising up their holy hands. They're calling on, O Baal, hear us. O Baal, hear us. And all that. How much time do we have? O Baal, hear us. But there was no voice. They didn't hear anything back. But there was no voice, nor any other that answered. And they leapt upon the altar which was made. Go ahead, brother. 27.
And it came to pass at noon that Elijah mocked them and said, cry aloud, for he is a God. Either he is talking, or he is pursuing, or he is in a journey, or a peradventure he sleepeth. He must be awake.
Okay, so Elijah said it came to pass at noon. So they started off in the morning, yelling, "Oh Baal, hear us, we're crying, right there." And Elijah said, he mocked him. He said, "Man, speak up, he's a god." So maybe he's talking to another god. He's probably talking or whatever, or maybe he's pursuing. Maybe he's a little busy or something, or maybe he's went off to a journey or something, or perhaps he's asleep. Maybe he's asleep, and he must be awakened. So cry loud. 28, go ahead.
And they cried aloud and cut themselves after their manner with knives and lancets till the blood gushed out upon them.
And they cried louder. They cried and they start cutting themselves and Baal, hear us. Lord, he's with me. They're just cutting themselves. They're just cutting themselves the long way, bleeding out. And so we're going to go verse 29. Go ahead.
And it came to pass when midday was past, and they prophesied until the time of the offering of the evening sacrifice, that there was neither voice nor any answer, nor any that regarded.
Nothing happened. Nothing happened. All day. This is unto the evening sacrifice. We read they started in the morning. Can you imagine? You get up in the morning, and you roll around, and you're crying out to their Lord's Baal. You're crying out, "Oh Lord, hear me, hear me, hear me, hear me." Come noontime, so 6 hours later, it's noon, okay? And Elijah's like, okay, well, look, just scream a little louder, man. I mean, he's probably asleep. He's probably gone or something. Go ahead. And they're just waiting. You know, they're just kind of waiting around, and they just, you know, screaming, hollering. Now they start cutting themselves. They start resorting to cutting themselves. Screaming, ah, Baal, all that. So it's just nothing happened all day. Now it's nighttime. It's getting dark outside. Okay, 30. Read 30, brother.
And Elijah said unto all the people, Come near unto me. And all the people came near unto him. And he repaired the altar of the Lord that was broken down.
Go ahead.
And Elijah took 12 stones, according to the number of the tribes of the sons of Jacob.
That's very important, but that's another lesson. But he took 12 stones according to the tribes of the sons of Jacob. Okay.
Unto whom the word of the Lord came, saying, Israel shall be thy name.
Okay, go ahead.
And with the stones he built an altar in the name of the Lord.
Go ahead.
And he made a trench about the altar that was great, as would contain 2 measures of seed.
Okay.
And he put the wood in order and cut the bullock in pieces, and laid them on the wood and said, Fill 4 barrels with water, and pour it in the burnt sacrifice on the wood.
Okay.
And he said, Do it the second time, and they did it the second time. And he said, Do it the third time, and they did it the third time.
Okay, so he said, okay, get all this 4 barrels of water and just pour it on the sacrifice. Pour it on the meat, pour it on the wood, drench it. And they did it the first time, and they did it the second time. Okay, and then they did it the third time, nice and wet. So that they can't say he did any kind of trick. It's soaked. In fact, his was soaked like that. The prophets of Baal, their sacrifice wasn't soaked that way. So he wanted nice and soaked. You can't say anything. Okay, they did it the third time. And then 35.
And the water ran about the altar, and he filled the trench also with water.
It was filled with water. It was wet, water everywhere. Okay, water everywhere. They put a lot of water on there. 36.
And it came to pass at the time of the offering of the evening sacrifice, that Elijah the prophet came near and said, Lord God of Abraham, Isaac, and of Israel.
Okay, now was he specific? He said, Lord God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, in case you were wondering why we say that. Because we want to be very specific. We don't serve any other God. We serve the Lord of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel. Or you can say Jacob. Same thing. Okay? Go ahead.
Let it be known this day that thou art God in Israel.
There you go. Go ahead.
And I am thy servant, and that I have done all these things at thy word.
Okay, go ahead.
Hear me, O Lord. Hear me, that these people may know that thou art the Lord God, and that thou hast turned their heart back again.
Okay, now he wants to do this. Now, it's not because Elijah wanted to be seen as a big shot. He said, I'm doing this because you told me to do this. And I hope that these people would turn back to you. Listen to you, Lord. Okay? How that thou art the Lord God, and that thou hast turned their heart back again. So he's trying to get people, quit wavering between 2 opinions. Meaning, quit straddling the fence. Are you going to serve God or not? And in this particular demonstration, the Lord that brings down fire, let him be God. The one that answers by fire, let him be the real God. You want to add evidence. Everyone says, show me, show me something. Or prove it to me. Or let me see a sign. Well, this is a huge sign that the Lord said was okay to be tested in. Okay? It's that they may turn back, 38.
Then the fire of the Lord fell and consumed the burnt sacrifice and the wood and the stones and the dust and licked up the water that was in the trench.
It's all gone. This Lord gave you a clear sign. You cannot even argue with it. It's sitting right in front of you, and all of a sudden fire comes from heaven. Burn up the sacrifice. Burn up the wood and the dust and licked up the water. It's all gone. What excuse do you have at that point? That is what it's all about, brothers and sisters. Okay? These other prophets of Baal, they didn't tread lightly. They wanted to waver between 2 opinions. They wanted to see, well, maybe Baal's the God, or maybe Elijah's God is the God. I don't know. Let's just be... We're going to go with Baal. Okay? And they sat there, wept and wailed and cried and jumped around and hollered and cut themselves all day long to no avail. You need to choose you this day whom you will serve. That is what this is about. Okay? So he said, and the stones and the dust, and licked up the water that was in the trench, 39.
And when all the people saw it, they fell on their faces and said, The Lord, He is the God.
Yep.
The Lord, He is the God.
There you go. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Elijah said unto them, Take the prophets of Baal. Let not one of them escape.
Okay.
And they took them. And Elijah brought them down on the brook Kishon and slew them there.
didn't tread lightly. See, that was the test. They didn't tread lightly. Now, I didn't see in the contract where we read where he said, okay, we're going to do this test. And whichever God answers by fire, let him be God. And oh, by the way, the one who's wrong, they're going to get killed. But they bet on the wrong horse. You can't waver between two opinions. You and I, brother and sister, have to come to an understanding. Either we're going to serve the true and living God, that is to say, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, or we're not. We went through this lesson, the first part, the second part, and we wanted to show you various stories that we need to watch our schemes, we have to watch our plotting and our planning, trying to set one another up. We need to be sure of whom we serve. We need to just make that decision of what we're going to do. Don't waver between two. In James, he said, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. We have to understand that. Be sure of what you're doing. Execute. Don't lack the courage of your convictions. And at the same time, tread lightly. That is what this is about. It's been an honor and a pleasure serving you. And I hope you got some understanding in our Messiah's name. Until next time, search the scriptures and prove all things.